perspective on Thailand, I was impressed to hear his speech. It was wonderful. And China increased by 1.1 million. So in total, the production increase globally is around 2.1 million tons, and largely the biggest producers this year has been Brazil, which has come back by 8.6 million ton of sugar production extra. In terms of global sugar balance, when we say balance, it means production minus consumption. In 2021, the global sugar production ran short of 5.5 million tons, i.e. production was lower than the consumption. But in last 3 years, whatever the stocks were depleted, the globe has already made it. So we are not at a situation that the stocks are limited. We have added to the stocks globally. Next year is a little bit too early, but still, next year is likely that we should also add to the global stocks. Now, anything which we study globally has to be in context of India, because we are in India and we are Indian sugar mills. I think the biggest thing which India should notice globally is how the Brazil is coming with a big bang force. Because in the previous slide, you would have seen that I have shown you that the Brazil has produced 8.6 million ton of sugar extra. So Brazil this year crushed historically highest gain of 650 million tons, and this 650 million ton is only in the center south. If I include the northeast as well, it will be close to 700 million tons. And why did it happen? See, the price is easiest solution to the production. The world prices were so high that cane was given extra care. Whatever cane can be produced was produced across globally, because the global prices were hovering at 27 cents. And then Brazil also historically high sugar mix. When I say sugar mix, it means that the total sugar cane which Brazil produced, how much it goes for sugar and how much it goes for ethanol. So unlike in India, where we are more or less 90% of cane goes for sugar and only 10% for ethanol, in Brazil the mix is generally 50-50. And the historically highest mix was close to 46%. But this year, Brazil sugar mix was 48.15%. And why did it happen? Because the ethanol prices were much lower than the sugar prices. So what a miller did, he produced maximum sugar as much as he can, because that was giving much higher realization. Brazil is also investing a lot in the crystallization capacity. When I say crystallization capacity, it means something similar to our boiling house, so that they can produce more sugar, because the ethanol has become cheaper there. So next year, this sugar mix, which is 48.5% this year, we are expecting that it might reach even to 51%. So Brazil is producing more and more sugar. So initially, not too long ago, around 6-7 months back, we were expecting that the Brazil will produce around 37-38 million ton of sugar. And now, as the reality is prevailing, Brazil might produce around 42.7 million ton of sugar, 5 million higher than the estimates, which started even after the crop. Then, when Brazil was talking about higher sugar production, because 37 itself was higher, so everybody was saying that Brazil does not have export logistics, because the same terminal where the sugar is exported are used for corn and soybean. And everybody believed that since the corn and soybean crop is very, very big, Brazil may not have enough export logistics. But the prices solved every problem. May it be production, may it be logistic, may it be anything. Because prices are big incentive to draw more capacities. And that's exactly what happened in Brazil. So in May, Brazil has 2.3 million ton of exports, which in December has touched 3.5 million ton. What does it mean for us? That in Brazil, it's not only that the sugar production has increased, it is also the fact that Brazil has built up its capability to produce that much of production by increasing the export logistics capacity to 3.5 million ton. Another factor, Brazil not only is producing more sugar, it is also producing more ethanol. And that ethanol is not only coming from one source, which is sugarcane. Corn ethanol in Brazil is also increasing. And rough estimate is around 7 billion liters of ethanol is coming from corn in Brazil. Resultantly, even in the ethanol stocks, Brazil has the highest ethanol stocks this year, which is close to 2 billion liters, 200 crore liter. And just to give you a perspective, that our ethanol program was around 4 billion liters. So half of the ethanol program stocks are there in Brazil. What did it do? In June, when Brazil was likely to produce around 37 million ton of sugar, and India had no exports, the sugar prices has come to 27 cents. But when the reality is prevailing after 6 months, and Brazil is producing 43 million ton of sugar and capability to export 3.5 million ton of sugar, the prices in the world has fallen down from 27 cents to 22 cents. And the white sugar prices have fallen down from $770 to roughly around $620 now. So Brazil overproduction has led to the reduction in prices in the global market, and dramatically. Imagine a price reduction from $770 to $620 is roughly around 20% reduction in price in a period of 2-3 months. I think, Arvind, it will be historically major downfall. Yeah. So it is also historical. And what happened, that the ethanol parity in Brazil also got impacted, because earlier ethanol used to get a tax incentive in Brazil, which was withdrawn, which was reduced in last year. So ethanol parity came down, and now ethanol parity in Brazil is 14 cents only. So a Brazilian miller, when he produces, when he starts his crushing, since he can crush 50% cane for ethanol and 50% cane for sugar, he always works his plant based on the ethanol parity, that whether ethanol gives me higher revenue or the sugar gives me higher revenue. Current ethanol parity is around 14 cents, whereas sugar prices are close to 22 cents. What does it mean? That there will be more and more sugar, and Brazil will maximize the sugar capacity, because sugar will give him more revenue as compared to ethanol. So in conclusion, Brazil has increased its 650 million tons of sugarcane capacity. Crystallization capacity is increasing. Export logistics have already increased. Corn ethanol is giving a competition. Market is at 22 cents, but the ethanol parity is still at 14 cents, and you have surplus. So you can well imagine what it can do to markets. Now, why I am saying all this? So my slides begin with caption that for India, beware of Brazil. Because if ever India becomes surplus, which it will ultimately become, because all the crops will pull back, will produce around 40 million tons of sucrose very recently against our consumption of 28.1. India will face a tremendous competition from Brazil for sugar. And since we make sugar at a very high cost, we might get into a real issue. So my takeaway from this is that India should not build up sugar surpluses. We should plan in advance that all our sugar surpluses goes into ethanol, and ethanol program to be run is very prior important to India. Otherwise, sugar industry will be faced it very difficult to survive in a surplus year. Let's look at other sugar producing area. Thailand, my friend spoke yesterday, and beautiful presentation. Thailand has produced less, from 10.9 million ton to 8.3. Why did it happen? Because cassava was giving a better return as compared to sugar. Though people have different view, my view is that since the global sugar production is in surplus, prices has already fallen by 10 cents. if global prices continue to fall, probably Thailand will have face one of these challenges to compete sugarcane with cassava, and the recovery will be there. But I do not see Thailand coming back to again old days where it used to produce 13, 14 million ton of sugar. And in fact, use this opportunity to ask question about Thailand to my friend who is more expert than me on this subject. EU is a wheat crop. EU wanted to produce more, the prices were good, but wheat crop has a major challenge that it is highly driven by weather. So if just one frost and the wheat yield changes very fast. But however, this year EU has produced, response to the prices, another 2 million ton of sugar. Among the trade flows, you will see that Brazil is essentially a raw sugar producer. So a raw sugar producer is producing more sugar, and white sugar producer like Thailand, European Union as well as India is producing little bit less sugar. Resultantly, I believe the white premium, which is difference between the raw sugar prices and the white sugar prices, will continue to stay firm. White premium, let's say in July 23, which is around 8-9 months ago, was close to 119. It is around 145 now. And I think with the raw sugar producer producing more sugar and white sugar reducing its production, white premium will continue to stay firm. Now coming to Indian sugar scenario, we have, everybody has different estimates on India, and most unfortunately, everybody says about Indian sugarcane estimate with a lot of confidence. I'll cover that point in my subsequent subject. My 30-year experience is that whenever there is a deficit in India overdoes its estimation on everything. When there is a reduction in the crop, we only think of doomsday. The crop is down. The next person say, it is down, right? No, I mean, if everybody was going to the field and scientific in analyzing, at least for once somebody would have been right, right? But people make crop estimation in India based on the gossip which they do, rather than estimation on the field, right? And my macro analysis is that whenever we see that the crops is down, we overestimate that it is down. Whenever we say crop is up, we overestimate it is up. The same crop, which is 32.7, I'm saying, I don't know whether I'll be right or wrong, but this is a little bit of work which we have done on field. The same crop, just 1.5 months ago, people were forecasting as 29 million tons, right? So I have taken an estimate of 32.7 million tons, and a diversion 1.7 million for ethanol. I think it will be more because a lot of people have gone to the courts and stay order, and also it is very natural that people will also leave more molasses into sea molasses because the prices are comfortable. So it could be 2 million ton. The crux of it is that in spite of all this consumption, India will be adding roughly around 2 million tons of stocks this year as compared to last year. Next year, very difficult to forecast. But again, what I see on the ground is not a doomsday. I am far sure and with confidence that UP will produce more last year as compared to this year. With these prices of sugarcane, every farmer will make the best efforts to grow sugarcane given the first opportunity. So I'm sure that the crop will be lower in Maharashtra because of the reservoirs and everything, but partly it will be made by other places, which is UP, Bihar, Tamil Nadu is increasing, Punjab, Haryana. So it is not that the doomsday is going to come. It is just that we have to be mindful of it. And this, all I'm talking, assuming that the monsoon will be normal next year. If the monsoon is abnormal, I mean, God save us. So even for the next year, I am assuming that the ethanol diversion will continue. I have taken a number of 1 million liters, 1 million ton of ethanol diversion. But given that we are increasing the stock from 4 million ton to 7 million tons, there is much more room for sugar diversion to ethanol next year as well. And I am also of the view that as soon as the estimation of the crop is done, we should also increase more ethanol. You didn't speak. So, no. We should. Sorry, I got that. So, as soon as we are confident, maybe in the next minute, there is a room for more ethanol production to be allowed even in this year, which we should be very, very mindful of the fact, because we have sugar. Let the distillation capacity not go waste. Let the sugar surplus not build up in India. The reason is that if sugar surplus built, and you mark my words that we'll have to sell everything with incentive, world prices will fall dramatically. So let the sugar be used for ethanol. Stock build up, I've told you that India will build up 2.5 million ton of stocks. And everything that gets reflected in price. From the prices, you can easily make out that the sugar is surplus. The prices in October, which was 3650, is already 3480 in July. Right? So, which is clearly showing you the surplus. And once the price is reducing, and another thing, production cost is increasing. This I am talking particularly in case of Maharashtra and Karnataka, where capacity utilization is lower, and increasing labor cost has become a big, big challenge. Look at the transport and handling cost which Maharashtra is paying. Unbearable cost. Unbearable cost. So this is going to be a very, very big challenge for Maharashtra. Second, the distillation capacity which you have just quoted is underutilized. How to pay the finance cost for the distillation capacity? How to pay the banks? How to pay the fixed costs? So this is going to be another challenge. So current challenges are stocks are building up, costs are increasing, profits are falling, and ethanol policy we have a recent setback. What India needs to do? First of all, India needs to really invest energy and money in a right estimation of crop. This is the major diagnosis of the problem of all the policy setback we see, because we do not have the right estimation of the crop. The government decision was not wrong given the production figures which were coming up, but now the production figures which are coming is very, very different. So we are seeing a surplus, and all this is caused by this estimation of crop. So scientific estimation is very, very important. On the left, which you see, on the left, which you see is basically I have made a table that the initial estimate which was done by the industry of the sugar production and final estimation. So in 2017 and 18, our estimation was wrong by 7.4 million tons. 18-19, 1.5 million tons. 19-20, 1.4 million tons. That is why I see that there is a serious need of estimating the crop revenue, and sugar industry can do it because all farmers are associated with us. Second, we need government policies which are stable and done with industry consultation. The knee-jerk reaction to the policy is always difficult for the market as well as for the sugar mills, like export sudden ban and then further around 1 million ton. Then ethanol policy, sugarcane juice, no production, and then suddenly little bit of quota and expecting more quota. The sudden shock of policy should be avoided, and that can be avoided with better estimation of the crop and industry consultation as well. Third most important point, we have to make, we don't have to make sugar prices as such a political issue. Sugar prices, we should have a high tolerance for the sugar prices to move up. If you look at the last 10 years data, sugar prices have only increased by 19% as compared to all other crops. Tur dal has increased by 41%, rice has increased by 43%, wheat 48%, atta 58%, and sugar price increase is only 19%. So even if I assume that the sugar prices would have moved by in the same estimation, that today's price, which is around 35, should have been 43 already. So we have to have this higher tolerance, and why I am saying higher tolerance, not for profiteering. I am saying higher tolerance by looking at the status of the industry where the cost is moving up. And particularly in Maharashtra and Karnataka, where 1 year is good, then it may be followed by 2 bad years. So sugar prices needs to do that. And fourth is most important, which I started in between. Ethanol program has to continue, and that message has to go to the market, to the automobile guy, to the people, because don't forget that next year or probably next to next year we'll be again back to 40 million ton of sugar production against our consumption of 29, and the only way to do it is by having ethanol. So the government should continue to give the right messages so that the automobile people continue to make flexi cars, the oil marketing companies to make storage. So that is very, very key for India. So that's my conclusion. India needs to have robust investment for cane crop estimation, stable government policy and industry constellation to avoid policy shock, high tolerance for increasing sugar price to compensate for increase in the, and long-term focus on ethanol blending should continue. Thank you very much.